Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Oh my goodness, we're fantastic. Thanks for being here again. So we have Kyle on keys and BVs, and Will, bass guitar, backing vocals, Chris Woods, drums, percussion, backing vocals, all BVs, Charlie Barnes, Bim on BVs. Hi Bim, how you doing at the back there? Absolutely amazing. And Dan Smith, as always, lead vocals, guitar and keys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making such an effort. Thanks for really messing with your songs and messing with our heads and our ears.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us about this morning. Tell us about your choice of styles and what you put in the Magimix and what's come out the other end.
So we for our new album is kind of a bit of a retro futuristic blender, and we thought that, you know, if we're gonna play old songs, we should pull them into the world of what the new album sounds like. Charlie Barnes put together the most incredible mashup. I think he took your challenge of from last time of like, I wonder how many songs you can fit in, and he just put all of the songs.
Yeah, well, it was amazing. I mean, I know that you insted or you posted somewhere half an hour before you performed, we're about to do the maddest thing we've ever done. How did it feel? I
think it was probably the most ridiculous. We've done quite a lot of mashups in our time, but that was definitely the most ridiculous. I really enjoyed it. How was it for you guys?
Time, I think. Right?
Yeah, it was awesome. We couldn't believe it. Ben Miller's in there like, what are they doing?
Yeah, no. We thought that too. It's probably the first time we've done it without like all laughing quite a lot.
Well, it's so cool. Let's go one performance back to Thelma Louise, the Virgin Radio playlisted latest single, taken from their soon-to-be-released fourth studio album. Tell us about Thelma and Louise, 20th anniversary of the movie. I'm sure you're aware of that. Yeah. But what does the song mean? Where do you want it to take us listening to it?
Well, the idea of the album sort of is about I guess plugging in, and it's all about escapism, like, you know, we've all been doing for the last couple of years, but the idea came before that. But I think, you know, it's about plugging into like the internet or technology or VR or films or books or whatever, and that's sort of where the first song sets things up. And we thought, where better to go than the sort of early 90s feminist classic Thelma Louise. So the idea of kind of ultimate escapism, driving through the desert, potentially off a cliff, you know, with your friend. We thought it's a really amazing image, and there's so much in that film that's fascinating, both about the film and the context of it, but also, you know, within the film itself.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt is absolutely gorgeous in it as well.
And there's that.
Nobody rocks a t-shirt and a pair of Levi's like he does in that particular movie. So because of the futuristic style of it, or the sort of otherworldly style of the album, the video is interesting for Thelma and Louise. You were all avatared up or down or inside out. How does that work? What goes on there?
It was an interesting process of getting sort of like, I guess, cameras filming every angle of us, and then we were recreated digitally, which was pretty exciting.
But still looking very much like yourselves. Yeah. So sorry, and I don't mean this to be sort of, I don't even know what the word is, but what's the point then in that case?
Well, I guess that throughout the album we're kind of playing with ideas about our relationship with escapism and our relationship with technology,
right? And,
you know, the idea that, you know, online you can totally curate this version of yourself,
right?
And you can kind of be anyone, do anything, go anywhere. And obviously there's amazing, endless possibilities with that, but there's also, as we've seen, you know, in recent years, it can kind of turn sour and go a bit right. And yeah, so the complexities of that. So I guess it was just about, you know, we're not making any huge point, but just, I guess, holding a mirror up to our relationship with it. Like, I'm as bad a phone addict as anyone else, and there's no judgment coming from the album, but it's I don't know, I think we'd started writing this kind of science fiction album, and then, you know, the last 2 years, everyone's spending a lot of time at home, and like our relationship with our devices and stuff has totally transformed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Obviously, for everybody, it's in amazing ways, you know, in the sort of, in its capacity to allow us to still speak to people and hang out with people virtually, and, you know, have human contact in a way. But, you know, it's also, it can be like anything. There can be too much of it. It can be corrupting. It can be corrupted. So yeah, just, you know, nice light themes for a Friday morning. and for a pop album. You know,
but I love it because it's really important, isn't it? Because we were talking to Andy Taylor from Duran Duran, who's now in Reef. He's as you probably know, he's now a permanent member of Reef.
Amazing.
And so what they do in their live set now is they play Wild Boys and they play Hungry Like the Wolf. But they play both the songs as Andy Taylor wrote them, and of course they're really hard rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
And so we talked to Andy about that and about Duran Duran and about the 80s. And what becomes evident to me, and I'm sure it's already evident to you guys because what you do for a living and you're geniuses, is that the reason that 80s songs are so... The 80s are brilliant, right? this 80s music is just a wonderful place to escape to, or a spaceship to escape in. Because a lot of the songs were written by rock and roll musicians, and they were just then popped up for the 80s. So they have this big... They didn't start with froth. It didn't rain down from the top of the glass down. It started with real sort of, oak strength roots. And that's why these songs are so magnificent. And I think... what you're speaking to there with, big themes for heavy pop, but they have to be for them to mean something, and that's pop music, I think, at its best, because it gets something else more profound in under the radar. And that's the best way, isn't it? Because it's the only way some people are ever going to begin to even have a chance of getting that message.
It's the Trojan horse.
Trojan horse, there you go. That's a much easier way of saying what I just said for the last 5 minutes. It is that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, as a band, we've always wanted to do that as much as possible. And look, we've had record labels and managers along the way be like, "Why don't you just sing a love song? Make it easy for yourselves,
so
guys."
Funny.
But I think we've always kind of enjoyed and challenged ourselves to write about things that are interesting to us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that as well, because you have a sound. And it's funny you should say about, what do you write about? Why do you write about it? What's the point in getting out of bed in the first place anyway for any of us? But because Bastille do have a sound, and I'm glad, because you have messed about with them this morning. When your sound was born, it's something that happened. It is you. It's like the Beatles, like Glenn Miller, his wall of sound, or Phil Spector, or whoever it may be. They've got ABBA have a signature sound. All the best bands have a signature sound. It's interesting to have different seeds to write about on albums, but what about your sound? Is it possible to get fed up of your own sound, even though we all still love it? Or can you sort of break out of your own sound, or is it like trying to break out of your own bones?
I think in our minds we radically change it all the time, but obviously to everyone else it sounds the same.
Yeah, I think because I think Dan's voice is relatively it's just quite distinctive. So we've always felt that we can try and change the sonics quite a lot, because Dan's voice is the kind of anchor that's like, it's Bastille again. And so I guess maybe, I think what Dan said, because I feel like we change our sound a lot, but Dan's voice just keeps just resting
keep doing
on top
the same
of
thing.
No, but I think, it's again, it's like this. I can't remember. Tony Robbins talks about the five sort of inescapable qualities that human beings live by, and two of them, I used to remember all of them, I think there might be 7 actually, but 2 of them are certainty and variety, right? And people love variety as long as they have certainty. And if they don't have certainty, they're not interested in variety. So Dan's voice gives us the certainty. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the Lennon and McCartney. It's what you want. It's not what you don't want. It's what we need.
And I think that's exactly what we try. We're sort of like, right, we're lumber with my voice unless we kick me out and someone else takes over. In Charlie we have a much better singer in the band and in Bim as well. But this is the voice we're stuck with. So in and around that, let's try and experiment as much as possible and mess around. That's why we've people probably don't know or care, but as well as our albums, we've done sort of 4 or 5 mixtapes that are all kind of collaborative, and we did a whole reorchestrated thing recently where we totally deconstructed our songs and built them back up again with an orchestra and
I know
choir of singers and all that stuff.
Reorchestrated.
Yes, indeed.
Was that Hampton Court?
We did do some Hampton Court shows, we did some festivals, and we've been super lucky to play some amazing places, but I guess the idea is to sort of constantly undermine expectations of what we are.
I think it's great.
Or try to, at least.
Well, deconstruct, reconstruct, isn't it? That's what it's all about. A form, storm, reform, perform. Every time you do something new. That's what I think. I think it's not a bad playbook to live by. Of course, you played Latitude.
Yes.
Latitude, along with Carfest North, were the first 2 festivals to happen.
How was it? How was Carfest?
It was I just want to talk to you about. I think it was probably like Latitude. For the first minute, we were all scared to death, and then after that, we was like, whatever, let's just get back to normal. So everybody was really trepidatious for the first hour or 2 hours on the weekend. Each act that came up and played, they were very emotional. I mean, Rag and Bowman, he was moved to tears for the first 3 or 4 or 5 songs of his own set. And because for, I think, 27 of the 28 bands, it was the first live performance for 18 months, and they all said that. the point is, my answer to your question is, it was very special. What was it like at Latitude?
Yeah, the same. I mean, as a music fan and a festival fan, I was so excited to be on site. As you know, as a bunch of people that, you know, for the last 8 years, 10 years have been going to festivals pretty much every weekend of the summer. I never thought I'd be so excited to see like the fencing and the sort of and the kind of metallic roadway laid out, and the Portaloo. I was like almost like on my knees. The Portaloo.
Yeah, and high-vis tabards.
Yeah, totally.
Bring them on.
Yeah,
you know.
So that was exciting, and then there was music, which was incredible. I think, like you said, it was this bizarre combination of, you know, for us, for our crew who are back to doing, you know, what they love, like to get to be doing that again, all with each other, and then also with the orchestra and all the different singers, and then that in itself was amazing and really surreal. And then I guess getting up on stage and there being, you know, thousands of people, it felt wrong in so many ways because we're so conditioned to thinking like, stay away from everyone, obviously over the last couple of years, but equally it was like muscle memory just kicked back in, and you're like, oh, right back to what we love. Yeah, it was
great,
good.
Wasn't it?
Really, really great.
So there has been a Swede behind the mixing desk around the 4th album. What was it like introducing that gentleman into the mix?
It was interesting. Yeah, I guess, you know.
Should we say who he is, because he's quite renowned in the business? Britney Spears.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So we wrote with who is it? That's good. That's nice. This guy Rami, who actually we did some writing with on the album. I think the point with this record was like, right, we've done 3 albums. Our process is very much like we do everything ourselves. It's quite kind of heads down, not very inclusive in terms of, you know, bringing in other writers and producers. This time around, we're like, if we're gonna evolve and change and stuff, let's just bring in a little bit of that other world, the sort of songwriter world and the producer world that we sort of interact with all the time when we're writing for other people, but not really in our own stuff. And we're like, let's just get over ourselves a little bit, and, you know, bring in the kind of like talents and genius of other people. So it was good. It was really interesting.
Well, it's dropping the fear, dropping the control, isn't it? And seeing what's on the other side of glimpsing.
Totally.
It's not a phone call for me, is it? You're just telling me the time. Okay. Will you perform some more, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course.
All right, here we go. So this is another 80s style, 80s-tastic reworking of Happier. Here we go.